All right, folks, good morning. We're going to do our pre-start vehicle, so let's get straight into it. And these are for if you are going to go on a trip somewhere, or this is for your weekly checks on your vehicles, just as your basic maintenance. So what we're checking for here is just that you've got added amount of tread and that the tyres look inflated enough to make your trip. Just to have a cursory look underneath your vehicle and make sure, just to check to see if you can see any oil leaks, coolant leaks, transmission oil, anything like that. Okay. We're just going to pull the dipstick out, wipe it off. Even though we can see there's oil on there, we're going to wipe it off and re-dip it. And we can see the oil is almost perfect on that. That's fantastic. And the color of the oil is nice and golden brown, which is what you want to see. So we've checked our oil. Now we're just going to check if your vehicle is a automatic. Just check the automatic transmission fluid. Now this one is down in here. Yeah, just pull that out. We're going to check it the same way as we check the oil. Just wipe it all off. Push your stick back in, pull it back out again, and just check. And yep, we've got, actually looks like there's a little bit too much in there, but we'll fix that up later on. So we've got transmission oil. Batteries last around 2 to 3 years these days. They have a little window in the top of the battery here, and that'll have different colors in it. This one says battery is okay if it's green. This one is green. If it's red, replace the battery, and if it's black, the battery needs recharging. Coolant has an overflow. It has your radiator cap here. This engine is hot, so we're not going to open the radiator cap. But it also has an overflow bottle. In a similar situation, we have a maximum and minimum, and we should be able to see that fluid level in there. Very difficult down the side here. I'm also just going to screw the cap off and just have a look in there, and I can see my fluid level is right. Now if we just zoom in here, we're going to have a look at the container there. We have a maximum level, and this little piece down here is the minimum level. So we need to be somewhere in there, and we just give that a little bit of a shake to make sure that we can see the oil level, which it's right here. So that's all good. Next up on our list is power steering. And we're similar to our brake fluid. We've got a semi-clear container with a maximum and minimum. This has actually got a little bit more than it should have in there. We're just going to give it a bit of a shake so that we can see the fluid moving, and we're all good with that. All right, so we want to also be looking at the belts. This is called a serpentine belt because it's on the side of the vehicle, and it's one belt that goes all the way around and runs the power steering, the alternator, the air conditioning, and everything else. So we're looking to see whether or not there's any cracks or scrapes or anything in it. This is a little bit worn, this one, and I'm going to be changing out the power steering pump here pretty soon, so I'm going to change that belt. Along with our serpentine belts and fan belts, we're going to also check our radiator hoses and any other hoses that we can see. Now this hose here, this is our top radiator hose. We're just going to give it a bit of a squeeze to make sure it's nice and flexible and there's no cracks in it. That one's all good. The bottom radiator hose is way down below there, which we can't see at the moment. And we're going to do a cursory look at any other hoses around just to make sure that everything else looks like it's in good condition, not cracking, not with no age. Alrighty, air filters next. Air filter is in this box here. Your vehicle may be slightly different, but it's going to be a similar nature. There's usually some clips here to just push off. This one has 5 clips. Lift that up, pull your air filter out, and just check to see how clean it is on both sides. This one is very dirty on this side, it needs replacing. That's it. Then make sure you put it back. Okay, so this is our windscreen washer. The cap's missing off this one, so I guess we'll have to go find a cap. And so that's where you fill your windscreen washer fluid. All right, so we're in the cab of the car, in the front of the car now. There's a couple of things that you need to check. First thing is your horn. Yep, horn works. Make sure that you have enough fuel in your vehicle for the trip that you're going to go on. If you're going on a long trip, obviously it needs to be full. Consider that you may get stuck in traffic somewhere, and if you are in cold climates, there could be snow and ice on the road where you need to run that vehicle for a length of time and not be able to move. So make sure you've got plenty of fuel for your trip. My lovely assistant has just turned on the headlights, and that's our low beam, and we'll check our high beam. High beam is working, and we'll check our park brakes down the bottom here and our fog lights. So we've got our park brake is working, and we want to check the fog lights as well, and they're working correctly. Now while we do this, I'm going to put the hazard lights on to check our blinkers as well. So we've got our blinker here, our side blinker on the mirror. We'll check this side at the same time, and we'll also check the rear. So our rear blinkers are working, so all our blinkers are working. Okay, so all our brake lights are working, that's great. And now our reverse lights. And our reverse lights are working as well. So all of our lights are working correctly. The ignition turned on, but the vehicle not started. We're going to just check our windscreen wipers and washers. So just make sure that they turn on, and make sure that you have fluid to wash. What we also want to make sure is there's no streaking on the windscreen, and need to change the windscreen blades, but we'll talk about that later. Seat belts, make sure that they are in good condition, no cuts or abrasions, and they function properly. So a quick pull down and make sure that they stop. If they do that, they're working correctly. Make sure you got your handbrake works too. This is something that people forget about all the time. This one has a foot brake. You just push it down there, make sure it engages properly. You can actually run the vehicle and try and move backwards and forwards, but just make sure either your handbrake, if you've got a handbrake, or foot brake is functioning correctly. Alright, when you do your initial check on your tyres, make sure you check your spare as well. Make sure that it is inflated correctly and also has plenty of tread on it as well. So we're in the back of the car now. We're going to make sure that we have our jack and a wheel brace. Yours may look different to these. You'll need to check your manual as to where that they are and what the functionality of them are. Supplemental, some other things that can be beneficial for you to have in your car. I always like to carry a first aid kit. I live in Australia, so I also have a snake bite kit in the car. I make sure that my manual is here, and also a fire extinguisher can become very handy. Make sure that your fire extinguisher is actually charged correctly, so it'll be, the little arrow will be in the green there, and make sure it's okay. And that's it. Do all those checks and you're ready to go. So fantastic, good job. Thanks for watching.